What would you do if you couldn't hear the sport you love? Never to hear your fans cheer you. Never to hear your opponents boo you. 20 million people are deaf in the U.S. Cal State Northridge has the only deaf Division I basketball player to play in the NCAA tournament. This is Michael Lizarraga's story.
The first time I met Michael was at our first team meeting about 2 years ago. It was when I first transferred in, and I got into a car with one of my teammates and we got introduced, and I didn't know he was deaf. And so I was like, "Hi, my name is Will," and he didn't reply, and one of my teammates said, "Oh, his name is Mike and he's deaf." I'm like, "Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know we were gonna have a deaf player on our team." And so we started just kind of like talking back and forth a little bit with our phones, and that's how we kind of started the friendship. But at first it was a little different because I've never met a deaf person before. So first time for everything, I guess.
The first year that I came here, I noticed Willie, and I didn't really know him. I didn't know any of my teammates as well, but I also noticed that we were the only two white players on the team. During my freshman year, Willie would always come up to the interpreter and ask different signs, and had a curiosity about sign language. And that continued throughout the year. And we began to get more close. His first sign was the sign for duck. From there, we just started to begin to bond, and we've developed that ever since for the past 3 years.
It's a funny story. I had seen Michael play in the summer and some of the AAU basketball traveling team stuff during the summer. I saw him play in Vegas with the team in Vegas, and really thought he was solid. Thought he was a good player. Didn't know much about him. I didn't know he was deaf. Didn't know anything really about him. And then I just noticed one time during one of the timeouts that someone was interpreting. And then I found out that was his dad who was actually doing the interpreting for him. And about probably 2 days later, word got back to me that there was a chance that he might come to Northridge because of our deaf studies program here. So I really didn't know much about him, but it was one of those things where it obviously just fit, and we're just we couldn't be more happy to have him here, obviously.
I met him freshman orientation, his freshman year. So before on the court, I met him as the big, tall basketball player, and I thought, that'd be fun to work with him. My first year here, I really didn't know any of the interpreters or who was able to sign basketball. And I first met her, and she was good with the basketball language. And after a year, when I became a sophomore, then we became much more comfortable and knew exactly what to do and where to go, and how all of the game situations worked, how practice worked.
To learn sign language from Mike, it was really a teammate and a friend kind of decision, because for the first year, it was a little bit of joking, learning signs and everything, learning random words, but I never really did a full dedication to learning sign language until my second year, or the summer right after. And that's when we really started to hang out, and I asked him if he could teach me, and he was more than willing to teach me and have a teammate want to learn. And to put in that effort during the summer, it was perfect because we're both here during summer school and we both had a lot of free time. And so that's really where it got started, to where I was signing fluently.
I first met him and then started teaching different signs. One of my favorite was the butter duck. I don't know why, but that was just always so funny because it was such a weird connections, because as a hearing guy trying to learn sign language, he was just awkward in some ways, you know, like he would sign very stiff and awkward. I always thought that was goofy, but you know, he's gotten good at sign, and not just that. Sometimes people misunderstand or take Willie for me or me for Willie, or think Willie's deaf, and you know, so it's like I look at him and I think we're different big time, but I like to room with Willie when we have away games. I always have fun with him in that situation. We always have a lot of different jokes, but now this year is his last year, so it's going to feel really strange when he's gone.
It says a lot about Willie's character, the kind of person that Willie Galick is, and we're very, very blessed and fortunate to have Willie here, and we love him here. It's not just the people on our team. You see Willie walking across campus, everybody knows Willie and everybody loves Willie. Today we finished practice and volleyball was coming in, and some of the girls were hitting them volleyballs and Willie was hitting balls back and that kind of thing. He's just a friend of the people is what we kind of say about Willie. That's just his kind of personality. But we are fortunate to have him because he kind of took this on his own. Nobody really asked him to get this deep in the interpreting side of things, but he's just kind of taking it in on his own. He makes sure that when we're in game situations or in the locker room and we're going through things, that he sits next to Mike, and he wants to make sure Mike knows what's going on. So now we've come to rely on Willie to be there for him because, to be honest with you, there have been times when we haven't had an interpreter. Because of budget cuts and other things that are going on, and we've had to have somebody step in and fill that gap, and Willie's kind of done it on his own, and we haven't really had to ask him to do it. So we're very, very blessed and fortunate to have him, and Mike is blessed, and I know excited to have Willie as well.
I think it's important to start off just kind of as an observer to get to figure out the norms and how people interact. I mean, that's a huge change of a world for me, and it's lucky that I get to see that world. But men's basketball team, you don't get the inside look very often as a female, so I spend a lot of time observing and just realizing that it's much more comfortable for me to be a relaxed, positive presence where I'm not going to withhold interactions, but I'm not going to do it to the point that I'm not doing my job professionally as well. So there's good amount of banter between me and the coaches and me and the players, but always the primary focus is to make sure that Mike knows what's going on, and to understand that the human connection part of it also is really important. To be a part of the team, he needs to know what's funny going on, what are the inside jokes, so those are the cues that I've picked up on to know when the coach is yelling at somebody, when somebody's laughing. Those are almost more important than sometimes the specific plays or the learning points as well, because you need to have that interpersonal dynamics. You have to understand each other, and if he didn't get that, he's going to see it all, but if he doesn't know exactly what people say, then he won't know their personalities, and it's going to be harder for them to bond. Yeah, I can't hear at all unless somebody really screams loudly, then I can hear that. But obviously I won't understand precisely what they're screaming anyway, just that I can recognize there's a loud sound. But in a game situation, yeah, I can't hear at all sometimes. Like coach in my freshman year against Cal Poly, I was shooting a free throw and just went through the motions, and I made both baskets. And after that, my whole team said, "Did you know that some of the people were yelling at you, trying to distract you?" But I'm like, I couldn't hear anything. And that's one thing that's really nice.
I have to give Mike a lot of credit because we take it for granted how we can just hear a play or hear how the coach is talking to us or hear the crowd, the roar or the boos, like you said. And Mike doesn't get to hear any of that. He has to use his eyes and he has to look around, but he really works at it, and he tries to read lips the best that he can, or he tries to pick up the play as quickly as he can. But he's very attentive, and at times I feel like it's almost at an advantage to him because other people can get sidetracked. But with him, he doesn't really get sidetracked with other guys kind of talking to him or kind of bugging him while the play's going on. He gets to focus and watch it right away, and he can pick up on plays instantly. And that's one of the things I've noticed about him. And like I said, I give him 110% of all my respect to how he can just watch something and pick it up instantly without having someone to give him all the little details when an interpreter is in there.